Now, 8:30 a.m. EST. Looks like I forgot the countdown timer, but that's all right. Not a big deal. I only just started doing the countdown timer yesterday. It occurred to me like, hey, you know what? I should do a countdown timer, and I did it. Well, let's start doing it again. Um, it's Friday. Friday tends to be a slower day in markets, so basically, we just kind of review everything, see if there are any day trade opportunities, take a look at the next week, and just kind of go over all of the things. All of the things. So basically, of course, if anybody has any questions, if anybody wants their algo to be looked at, go ahead and pipe up if you are in the private chat. And again, this is the beginner live lab for Algo Factory. So just a very quick blurb on who we are. We'll actually get into more of who we are and what we do at the end of the show. We're going to jump pretty much right into the content, but here is a QR code. You can zap that, go to the website, www.algofactory.tech, and we help people become traders if they are not traders yet. And if they are already traders, we help them build trading methods. And we even can help put you on the path to have that automatically coded, or I should say coded to automatically trade. Okay, so you can set that up and walk away. And it is a path. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. But if you're interested, go there. And again, we'll talk more about that at the end of the show here. So initially, let me see here. I don't see any questions really from our private group. Let's see, Washington. Yeah, I don't see anything. So I'm just going to start going over the items, the regular items, just kind of, doing what I would normally do, which I actually have done a couple of hours ago, because I've been up for a while. But, I'm just going to kind of show people what my regular kind of morning looks like. And the first thing I do is I get up and I flip on the computer. And besides making coffee and all those other things that everybody else does, um, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on the screen so people can see it a little bit better. And I do a few things. I look at the charts and I also look at what economic information today has in store. What do I mean by that? So the news comes out 4 days a week. Usually you get kind of economic data that comes out. Now, as a Forex trader, this is going to apply more to being a Forex trader. Okay. So, but it also applies to crypto about as much as Forex. So crypto and Forex traders, this is going to matter, especially if you're like day trading, things like that. It does apply to everything else, certainly, especially when you have like big, heavy news. So I'm going to go to a website called forexfactory.com. I'm going to put the link in the chat here. Also, do bear in mind we're on YouTube. So if you are enjoying this content, please like, subscribe, follow, hit the notification bell, share it with your friends, all that stuff. We are relatively new, and what we have to offer, you saw the price earlier, very inexpensive. This is going to at least double and probably go up by a few times as we get more clients. But we did pretty much a soft open and marketed to our internal people. We haven't marketed out yet. But when that happens and more people come in, we're going to have to raise the price, and that's just what that is. So for the moment, though, helping us expand and all of that is going to help the community grow. That's a really good thing. So if you're already in the community, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. If you're not, do it anyway, because, if you like content, that's just what you do. All right. So looking at the calendar, today is Friday, November the 10th, right? And so what we're looking at is the consumer sentiment. Okay. That is a metric that comes out. I want to say, is it weekly? Let's take a look at last Friday. I think it's every Friday that comes out. Because it kind of feels like that. Let's see here. Maybe it's it'd say right on there. I think it's a monthly metric. So it should say right on there. Give me 1 second. Okay. Consumer sentiment. Let me open it up, get a little more information on it. Okay, so the next, it's monthly. Okay, the next one comes out in early December, and it's what it sounds like. Basically, what you're doing is the University of Michigan has always kind of done, I guess it's like, surveyed consumers. So they survey people to get basically how people feel about the economy. What's their sentiment? Do they want to buy things? Are they trying to save money? Do they think things are going to fall apart? And of course, sentiment is exactly what it sounds like. It has to do with perception, and perception is reality in economies, right? So if people are concerned that the economy is not going to do well, they're not going to spend their money, they're going to save their money. And of course, when people don't spend money, the economy does not do as well, especially in the kind of economy that we have, this consumer based economy that's a relic of last century. And I'm not saying consumption is bad, but I'm saying that without getting very deeply into a lot of things, um, that's just what it was. Consumerism was really, really pushed, especially in the U.S. Not to say it's bad, but it was just heavily pushed. And that being the case, if an economy is based on consumerism and then consumers stop consuming, then you're going to have a contraction. And it will be a heavier contraction than if the economy was otherwise based. Okay. So that said, not making it good, not making it bad, just it is what it is. We're going to get that number. Now, the way this is going to work, okay, on the charts, and the way this is going to work, I'll go over how it works in Forex. I'll go over how it's going to affect crypto. I'll go over how it's going to affect stocks and indexes and anything that you possibly could trade. Basically, everything, at least in the world, is most commonly traded against the dollar, right? The US dollar. And so assets that are traded against the dollar are going to react to dollar strength. Now, those assets are also going to react to their own strength, right? So, and I've gone over this quite a few times. I mean, like this, if you go back through like the news clips, or I'm sorry, on the YouTube clips, you'll find trading the news. And on trading the news, I explain this every time. So I'm just going to go over this pretty quickly. You can go back and look at clips if you want a better explanation. But if the consumer sentiment is strong, that means that everybody thinks that the economy is strong. And right now, we are in a backwards world where good news is bad news, because good news is going to possibly cause, at least the wisdom says, it's going to cause the Fed to want to hike rates more because they want to slow the economy down. So if everybody feels that the economy is strong and they want to go spend, then it's like, okay, maybe we do have to hike rates a little bit more. And if they hike rates, that's actually going to push the dollar up, and the dollar will go up in as soon as that data comes out. Now, it might be brief, it might go away, but right when that data comes out, it's going to push the dollar up. It might be for a few minutes, it might be for a couple hours, depends on the type of data coming out and how strong it is. So in October, on October 13th, 2023, we see the actual was at 63, which was lower than the forecast. And it's all going to be relative to the forecast, right? So that the whether things go up or down or whatever is going to be relative to the forecast. So last month, consumer sentiment being lower than forecast, then the idea was, okay, well, maybe the Fed isn't going to hike anymore. And so the dollar got weaker. When the dollar gets weaker, everything traded against it gets stronger. So like if you're trading the euro versus the dollar, the euro went up. If you're trading pretty much any stock, the stock might take a little move up, or like an index, say, SP 500, whatever you like to trade. If you're trading oil, decent chance oil might go up. That's a little different. Gold in this case would probably go up because gold is kind of a measure of inflation, and dollar interest rate being cut is going to actually add to inflation. Not to say that this is how it would really go, but that's how the market perceives it, and that's how things will go, at least temporarily, on the charts. Okay. So if anybody has any questions about that, feel free to ask. By the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can always go into the comments and ask me questions in comments that are, like not the show comments where you do the chat, but more like the YouTube comments. I'm happy to actually answer questions that are there as well. And our Twitter is growing. I've been hitting that pretty hard. So I'm pretty sure we have some people watching that are from there, and you are totally free to ask questions, as my tweets always say. Okay. All right, so we're looking at that at 8. Now, what I do as a day trader, which that means that I am in and out of trades within a very short period of time, sometimes minutes, sometimes a few hours. I tend to be a day trader. I'll swing trade. If a setup is there for a swing trade, I will do it, which means I might hold it for a few days, maybe a week. That happens. It's all about the setups, but I don't really have a much longer time horizon than that. And there are many reasons for that. Part of it is not really my personality. Part of it is that there's a lot of uncertainty in the economy. So when you have uncertainty, it's hard to forecast out farther. And when you hold on to a trade for 2 months, a lot of things can happen in 2 months. We have people getting into conflicts overseas. We got who knows, pandemic or whatever. Just too many things can happen for me to be comfortable doing that. Now, mind you, if you are in a higher time frame trade, if that is your style, if something happens, the movement is going to be relatively slow unless it is a very high impact event. So you have time to adjust your trade and get out of it. So it's not like you're going to be stranded. Most of the reason that I don't trade high time frame is because it just simply isn't part of my personality. Okay, so we got a couple of friends in the comment. Brad King, Jay Martin, always good to see you too. I know that you all are taking this on. Brad really has been taking this on. Not to say Jay isn't, but Brad's been very active and building his algorithms and then talking to me in the background. And you know what? That's the thing about Algo Factory. Like, you have access to myself and you have access to V the Gorilla. So if you're a Rogue fan, you actually can talk to V on Telegram. And it's hard to get a hold of V. If you ever have been like, a Rogue person and wanted to get a hold of V in the past, it's not easy. And this is where you can do that. There are some people who have joined Algo Factory just so they can have access to V and his information. And of course, I guess we can make this a little bit of a commercial. Here again is the QR code. Zap that, algofactory.tech. There's your monthly membership, $49.99. If you get that now, that $49.99 will be grandfathered in as we raise the price. And that price hike probably will come before the end of the year. I'm not totally sure. It's based on certain metrics. But long story short, the Gorilla, who does a lot of high level data, he does deals with billionaires, crypto deals, precious metals deals around the world. He's got companies that are, domiciled in, Dubai and all kinds of places. I think he's already in Dubai. But anyway, long story short, when you deal with people at that level, you get a lot of information. And not to say it's like we're not supposed to hear the information. It's not that kind of privilege. We're allowed to hear the information, but he only will talk about it on Algo Factory, and then he'll talk about it maybe weeks later on the regular channel. So if you want to get the information ahead of time, and that's geopolitical information, that's market information, that's all kinds of stuff, head on to algofactory.tech. Brad King asked, what crypto site are you using? Yeah, PrimeXBT is a good site. That's if you are able to trade it. I know that PrimeXBT does not allow certain jurisdictions to trade. So you have to understand that. Now, there are people who are in those jurisdictions who find ways to do it, and that's not something I discuss here at all, ever, anywhere. But PrimeXBT does it's a pretty decent offering over there. So let's see here. So we don't give investment advice. That's why I don't discuss such things. You have to do your own research whenever it comes to investment or anything like that. That's you got to do your own research on that. But the point is that anything's possible. You just got to make it happen. All right. Okay. Well, oh, Brad, thank you for that. Yeah, Brad's been taking this on. He says the monthly membership is priceless. Well, Brad, when you're as active as you are, when you're building like you're building and you're actually taking it on, that's even more priceless. But even if you're not doing it, even if you're kind of moving a little more slowly, taking your time to learn how to do this, maybe you're somebody who, is not quite as technically inclined, so your learning process is just a little bit slower. We're still very valuable purely based on the information that we are able to get through the Gorilla, as well as the community that we help each other out in there. So we got over 100 people in there, and if you have a question, even if I'm not available at that time, a question can be answered by others. So, all right, well, do we have any charts that we want to see? Anybody who's watching? I know we got a nice handful of people over in the private lab. Over in Telegram, and I know we have a few people here, at least one or two on the YouTube. Not a huge crowd on YouTube. If anybody has any charts they want to see, let me know. Otherwise, I'm probably going to move over to Bitcoin. I know there's been a lot going on there. My Aussie trade that I want to get into is not going on yet. For those who are in the private lab, I have an Aussie trade. It's actually the Australian dollar versus the Japanese yen, and that just hasn't been available yet. Waiting for that breakout. All right, so now Bitcoin did a kind of a big move up, and I caught that trade yesterday. I put the trade out on what do you call it? On our Telegram, so everybody got to see me. As I entered the trade, they got to see me win the trade. And I think there might have been a couple of people who did their own research, and it looked like my research, and they actually made money on their trade. But this, you can see the lines here. That was my trade yesterday. I entered and exited, and it was beautiful. Um, so let me remove that. But what we're seeing here actually looks rather bullish. So look, 38,000 is an important number. Okay. If Bitcoin crosses 38,000, then that goes into some pretty bullish territory. It has to stay above 38,000 for, I would say, at least a week or two for me to be convinced that we now have begun the bull market. But I can tell you that the price action you're seeing on the screen is very bullish. This right here usually means something's going to happen. Now, oftentimes you'll see it and then you get a bull trap where price kind of pops up, gets in a lot of people, and then snaps things down, right? Um, it'll just break off, price will head down, and all the people who bought right here get in trouble. In this case, right now, price is continuing to go up. Okay, and this is pretty bullish because there's something. I know another guy calls it like a bullish pointer, but when you have a candle push up like this, get pushed back down, and then continue up after that, that's bullish. Okay. Now, if it actually continued down after that, that's actually rather bearish, right? So, this kind of violent price action, whatever price action succeeds that, then that is a decent indicator of where price could go. So, at this point, would not surprise me either way to see price reject before it gets to 38,000 and head down. But right now, it also would not surprise me if price kept going up. There is a lot of usually there's a drop in November before the halving year, right? So if you look at the history of Bitcoin halvings, there have been, I think, 3 of them. In November, you get a low. That's usually how it goes. But there are only 3 halvings. That is not a very large sample size from which to derive any kind of data that would prognosticate. I mean, it's a decent model. It's worked every time so far. If there were 100 halvings to look at, we would have a much higher probability scenario. It's like, well, yeah, 98% of these halvings or 78% or whatever your percent is, right? But in this case, we only have a few halvings. So the way price is going to behave right now is a little bit unpredictable. There's a lot of like ETF news coming out, like, oh, BlackRock's talking about this ETF and that ETF. But it's all kind of like half-hearted, like half real news. It's like, oh, it's rumblings about it, but maybe they're not going to do it, or we're not getting anything solid about that. So now in the private lab, the gorilla has told us his thoughts and actually his information on whether or not we're going to see an ETF by a certain time. So those of you who know about that understand how this chart might go. But what I will say is that if price, say, goes above 38,000, stays up there for a few days, maybe a week, if the weekly closes above 38,000, and then the next candle on the weekly after that stays and closes above 38,000, then there is a decent chance that we might be entering the bull a little bit early. Honestly, my gut, if you will, is more like we're going to see a dump, right? Because all the prior halving years, you see a low at the end of November, and then price kind of just stays in that area and keeps going up. I was expecting a dump down to the low 20s, but if this continues up and stays up, then it might be that, okay, ETFs are here and that's it, right? So I don't really trade like this. I don't worry about what's going to happen in a month. I worry about what's going to happen like in 2, 3 hours. So it doesn't affect me. And my crypto holdings are my crypto holdings. I sold some, back in like 1922. Wow. In 2022, and Bitcoin was at like 50 some odd thousand, I got rid of a lot of crypto. And then again, when it was in the kind of like the 40s, but at the same time, or at least I should say the company that I was working with, I did that for, them, not that it was my personal. But the point here is that the crypto holdings that I have that I've had for a very long time, they're just going up right now, right? Like it's, I'm a more of an investor when it comes to crypto on the high time frame, and then I will trade crypto on the lower time frame, right? So, I will be in and out within a day or two, within a few hours, just like I do with like everything else. And in this case, right now, everything is looking very bullish. I would not, I rarely ever short Bitcoin as it is. Bitcoin is known for punishing the shorts, right? So let's take a look at the liquidity. Okay, so let's first explain what liquidity is. So a lot of people are long. A lot of people think price is going to go up. And so they probably entered, maybe like here because their price was kind of wild yesterday. And so what they did was they took a trade right where this green and this blue meet each other. And on the right, you can see it in gray, about 36,500. I'm just going to pretend that that's what I did, right? Now, my stop loss, which is where I'm going to exit the trade if it goes against me, um, that stop loss would probably be something like 34,000. That's maybe even a little bit tighter depending on the scenario. But we'll just say it's like 34,000. And then I might be looking to take profit. I might jump out just before 40,000 because that's a psychological number. Maybe my target's higher, right? If I'm, depending on if I'm a real moon boy or not. But that's how that works, right? So now where my stop loss is going to determine like where a little bit of liquidity is, because if price gets pushed down, that's an automatic sell order and that becomes liquidity on an exchange. Okay. So let's say that that's the case. And there, I would have a little bit of liquidity at 34,000. Well, now we have insight through the kingfisher.io as to where that liquidity actually is. You can do it on multiple exchanges. I'm not paid by them. I'm not like shilling them for any reason. So I just kind of spin to get free credits and I use their liquidity. They actually have some really good solutions that are besides liquidity, right? So, I would really consider looking into them. Um, and I can put I'll put my referral link. Let's do that. Account referral. I'll do a copy. I want to put my referral link to the Kingfisher in the chat as well. Again, I don't recommend per se, but I can just tell you they are they're a good solution for sure. Now I'm going to look at Binance's liquidity map for all leverage trades. I can tell you there isn't much liquidity above price right now. And the market makers are going to want to push price towards liquidity. Now there's some liquidity way up at 51,000. So that means that there are people who have gone short and then they just, maybe they're using not very much leverage and that's why their liquidations are up there. You have a little bit sitting at about 43,000. I don't think price would get pushed up because of that, right? But right now the charts do not favor a move down. Now, when the charts do favor a move down, and in crypto that can kind of come quickly and surprise you, the first place I would look for price to go to would be at about 35,700 and then all the way down to say like 34.3. So 34.3 to 35.7. Let's see what that looks like. 34,300 to 35,700. And again, for those who went long, kind of like I showed you, that's in that area where a lot of stop losses are, right? So, yeah, Brad says, hold up the bull. I need a few more paychecks to the DCA to dollar cost average. And then he said that in the private group. So again, the liquidity is down here, right? And it's exactly where I thought it would go because it's the kind of trade I thought would have happened, right? And then there's a lot more below that for people who are long with less leverage or they're like in it for the long haul. He's 31,000, 30,000, 29, laddering all the way down to 24,000 really, but there's kind of a peak at about 25. So there's a lot of reason for the market makers to push price into this liquidity because once price crosses this, it causes a lot of sell orders. And that makes exchanges a lot of money, right? And then it also allows the big players to fill their orders, right? So Clown World is waiting for that low 20K. Honestly, I would consider price to go down there at this point. I mean, I had kind of like 23,000, but as price heads down, what'll probably happen is this liquidity landscape will change a little bit. Some of these will get taken out by the price. Other people will take their trades off and they'll go long, and then their liquidity will be lower. So that this is not a static thing. This changes, but as it stands right now, a hard move down probably would go to like the low 34 range, kind of like I have, and to take out all those stops. And then after that, who knows, right? So somebody wanted to see the euro. We got a few minutes left. Brad wanted to see the euro. So we'll take a look at EUR USD, which is a Forex chart. So anyway, like as I said, right now everything's bullish. So all the indicators, everything indicate the price just wants to go up, right? So 40,000 is going to be a psychological block. 38,000 is an important number in the world of institutional trading. So, those are going to be like obviously price went right up to that and got knocked back down, right? So, I would be looking for price to reject at that same area, but eventually if it keeps wanting to go up, it's going to go up. So, we'll see what happens. It might take an event like BlackRock says, actually, we changed our mind. No ETF. That would knock price way down. It looks like we got the gorilla in the chat. So he's just in there typing. Hopefully the gorilla is getting some rest. So that's what we want for the gorilla. But at any rate, let's take a look at the euro, EUR/USD. Get the feeling that V is probably giving us some data that he must have got. Okay, so the euro is in. Let's see here. Let's look at the high time frame. Whatever the gorilla types, I may not repeat it. That's in the private chat, and it's probably going to be some good info. All right, so let's panel out a little bit. Okay. Okay, yeah, that's good info. So the gorilla just told us what's probably going to happen if price goes to a certain area. Like if price goes to this number, then goes to this other number, and then the institutions will do this to the price, and that's that. So, I'm not saying any of that, but the gorilla just dropped some major knowledge on us, and that's there. So if you come over to Algo Factory, go ahead and click this QR code that I'm throwing up on the screen. You can see what that is because he knows what's up. Now I've been following the gorilla since 2016, and I've been working with him since like 2017, and he is right like 80% of the time or better, and his accuracy is better than that too. So just so you understand, we just got pretty much given free money in the chat, probably. Now, everybody's going to do their own research and trade based on that. But in the meantime, that is some brilliant info. Okay, well, the euro, it wants to go up. It's in what looks to be okay, so high time frame, it wants to go up, right? Higher time frame. And then in the next high, but not quite as high time frame, it wants to go down. So we're going to see just compression for a while until the euro chooses to take a direction. Okay. So what'll happen is we'll probably see, I'm guessing, and this is just kind of a map out for what I think will happen on the daily time frame, something like this. I think we'll see something like that. And then what may end up happening, and I think we talked about this a bit yesterday, is that we'll see a bit of a consolidation. Maybe something like this or something like this. And price will just kind of go like this until it makes a decision. And now this may look a little different, but that's the basic idea. Somebody wants the QR code back up. Okay, I will put it back up. Somebody in the private chat asked for the QR code. So there it is. There you go. I'll leave it up there for a minute. But that's what I expect with the euro on the higher time frame. And then on the lower time frame, we're going to probably see let's see here. I'm going to go to the 30-minute. So I expect right now price to head upwards, and it's probably going to be slow. We're going to get that University of Michigan data come out, and I'm guessing that Michigan consumer data is going to be like lukewarm, bearish, right? People not as confident, but that's what I think. But it's so hard to know. I think price right now though is going to make its way up to maybe like the 107, and then it's going to encounter this local resistance because the volatility is just relatively low. Okay. So I just took the QR code down. I hope, Greg, that was good enough for you. I can always put it back up. So, but here is what I think will happen with the euro over like the next few days. It's just going to start ranging. So the opportunity is going to be like on the 30-minute chart. looking for these like consolidation breakouts like we talked about yesterday on the main lab. But at this time, I think what will happen is that, well, for sure, what I'm going to do is I'm going to head out of here. We're going to go over to the private room because it is now 9 o'clock. And we do appreciate you guys and gals all stopping by. Please like, subscribe, notification bell, all that stuff. I'll throw up the QR code once more, and then I'm going to head out of here. So much love, and we will catch up.